Hi, welcome. In this video, we will be exploring shoulder mobility through something I know of as a clock stretch. I learned this stretch 20 years ago probably in a rehab clinic where I used to do outpatient therapy. And I think it came then from that point from a doctor down the street. It's really great for exploring how your shoulder moves and exploring some of the subtle ways that you can actually gain some mobility and movement in your shoulder. However, I would like for you to consider this as a somatic movement. So a somatic movement, I always think of these as my animals, what they would do. So those somatic movements are like the stretches that your dogs and cat do whenever they first get up in the morning. And especially my cat, he's not going to do anything that he doesn't want to do. So that's your rule here as you're moving through this mobility exploration as well. If your cat wouldn't do it, you wouldn't do it. So if you find that you get a little pinchy or it feels a little tight in your shoulder and that doesn't feel good to you, then you'll just do a different variation or cut that range of motion a little bit short, okay? And I'll show you what I mean as we move. So in this movement, we'll start out in side lying. So when you're in side lying, I have a little bolster here. You could use a folded up towel or something. You could even just put your arm there, and that's fine too. Hips to 90, knees to 90, about. This is just to let you be nice and stable here. You could also put a folded up towel or blanket between your knees if that was more comfortable. We'll take the arms out in front of us, and these are the hands on the clock. So at first, we'll just let that top arm slide back and forth on the bottom one. And so since my elbow is staying straight here, really what's doing the sliding is my shoulder blade around my rib cage. I'm just priming the pump here for some shoulder motion. And then once that feels pretty good, I'll take this top hand and slide it towards my legs. I'm letting my fingers just drag along the floor here. If your hands don't touch the floor, that's totally fine. And as I come across at some point, the hand flips palm up. I'm letting the arm drag my rib cage around with it, the head follows suit, and I'm still letting my fingers drag along the floor. That might not be where your hands are, and that's fine. I'm coming all the way around. On this side, I'm moving counterclockwise. So I'll do that again, and I'll show you another variation. So if you're at home doing this, that feels good to you, you just do another couple. You're moving nice and slow, exploring your shoulder motion. So if whenever I get back here, let's say as I start to move my shoulder, my hand goes palm up and it feels a little tight, then I would just cut that part of the shoulder range of motion off. Just change the arc of movement into a way that feels pretty good. And then I come back down towards the floor once I don't have that pinching anymore or whatever I was feeling, okay? I like to go towards the legs first, and you'll do maybe 3 or 4 this way. And just like you change the range of motion if it gets a little pinchy and it doesn't feel good to you, you can also linger in places that do feel good. So like this is an area that feels pretty good and useful to me to have my shoulder here. So maybe here I'd want to hang out for a couple of breaths, maybe stretch and lengthen a little more. In these somatic movements, we're really just exploring what feels good in the subtleties of movement. And we want to build on the subtle stuff that feels really good in our bodies. So you find something that feels good and you go with it. Now I like to move that direction first, where we head towards the legs, but then at some point we change direction. So this time I'll slide my fingers up here. Now I start towards the leg because typically if people get pinchy, you get pinchy once you start heading up this way first. So if you find that you're a little pinchy, you just cut your range of motion short, come back into the arc of the circle once it feels not pinchy or not painful in the way that you were feeling before. And if it feels okay to drag your fingers along, then you're going to do that. Again, let it draw your rib cage with it. However much feels just right. And again, explore areas that feel really useful to you and linger in those places that feel good. So I'd encourage you to take your time with this. And I'll show you the way that we'll get out of it. The way we come out of this movement is to let the shoulder blade get heavy and drag the rib cage with it. Eventually the pelvis goes and everything lands back on the floor. And here I'm going to move the pillow because that feels better to me. You could keep it there if that felt useful to you. And then just settle in. Notice what you notice. See how the shoulder blades maybe and the side body. Notice how it all lands on the ground. Spend a couple of breaths transitioning, and then you'll just roll over and do the other side. I'll switch my direction here, and we'll do the other side. So again, you're moving into side lying. You have support for the head if you'd like it. Hips and knees are pretty much to 90, so you feel pretty stable. Something between the knees if you'd like. One hand on top of the other. And we'll slide that top arm back and forth, feeling the shoulder blade move on the back. Once I feel like I've primed the pump here, I'll take my hand down towards my legs, slowly moving like the hands on a clock. At some point, my arm maybe moves palm up. The fingers might stay on the floor, they might not. You're changing the arc of the circle to the way that feels best to you. We'll do 3 or 4 in each direction. And we're building on these subtle movements that feel useful and good in your body. So once you find a place that feels good, build on that. Maybe spend a few breaths in stillness here. Or sometimes I like to just reach my fingers and allow the shoulder blade to move kind of back and forth. It's like I'm expanding out through the fingers and then releasing. Notice if you're holding tension in your jaw or your neck. I'm going to switch directions this time. I'll head back up towards my head. Moving counterclockwise on this side for me. Sliding the fingers around again, stopping where it feels useful. The breath is a great tool here. You can find stillness and just breathe into the areas where you're feeling some space available. And that's the same thing if you cut the arc a little bit short too. And let's say I cut the arc shorter here because it didn't feel good to have the arms so close down by my face. Maybe then I find a little reach back and forth here. If it feels good. Remember, if your cat wouldn't do it, you're not doing it. And then again, to come out of it, when my arm is reaching the opposite direction, let the shoulder blade get heavy, let it tug the rib cage along, which will eventually allow the pelvis to move. And everything comes back to more neutral here. And don't forget to spend a few breaths just releasing. Just release, sort of pay attention to what you notice. Feel the shoulder blades on the floor, the pelvis, all of the things. And that's a clock stretch, some shoulder mobility work that I hope you enjoy. And let me know how it goes. Move well and move often.